This is a story about a war no one remembers. A war that was once taught, but is now erased. Why was this war so thoroughly omitted? What truths were swallowed? It's a question that led us down a twisting path through yellowed letters, faded photographs, and forgotten battlefields. We uncovered a tale of bravery, betrayal, political intrigue, and personal loss. And along the way, we found an answer to the question posed in the opening pages of this film. A war no one remembers is a phrase that can apply to many conflicts throughout history. But in this case, we are talking about a very specific war. The war between the British Empire and the Zulus. Now, depending on where you went to school and when, you may have learned about this war at some point in your life. It was famously depicted in the 1960 movie Zulu, but our team could not find any record of it being part of the curriculum in South African schools today. Our journey begins in 1879 when the British Empire invaded Zululand. At the time, the Zulu kingdom was a formidable force led by the warrior king Cetshwayo. They were known for their military prowess and their distinctive bull-like formation called the buffalo. The British commander, Lieutenant General Sir Frederick Thesiger, was confident of victory. He underestimated his opponent and marched his troops into battle with only half of his forces. On January, they were annihilated in what became known as the Battle of Isandlwana. We hear eyewitness testimony from those who were there that day. Let me read you a letter written by survivor Lieutenant Melville to his wife. We halted and pitched camp on the drift, where we had crossed over the river. As soon as tents were pitched, messengers arrived from the king requesting that he would come and see us. In reply, Lord Chelmsford told him that he could not do so, as he was busy, and desired him to return to his people and tell them that we were friendly. Shortly afterwards, we saw great numbers of the enemy advancing towards us, shouting and yelling and firing their muskets. They were armed with the magazine rifles. Their object, we could plainly see, was to drive us out of the drift. With this object, they were successful, and we fell back to the main camp. It was soon evident that the enemy were not satisfied with driving us out of the drift. They advanced towards the camp, and in a few minutes, the fight became general. I shall never forget the scene as I first saw it. The Zulus rushed forward in a dense mass, shouting and yelling, and fired their pieces. On the left of the camp, the men stood firm, but were driven in by the immense numbers of the enemy. Here and there, a man ran off, but the majority stood their ground and fought with the greatest bravery. After regrouping, the British launched a counterattack and reclaimed the battlefield, but they were severely outnumbered and eventually forced to retreat. Following this defeat, the British government dispatched reinforcements under the command of Lord Chelmsford to take on the Zulus. Despite facing overwhelming odds, the British were victorious at the Battle of Rorke's Drift, holding off thousands of Zulu warriors until relief could arrive. These two battles marked a significant turning point in the war, exposing the vulnerability of the British Empire and challenging colonial narratives of European superiority. The war between the British Empire and the Zulu kingdom continued for several more months before finally coming to an end in September of 1879, with the death of Cetshwayo and the subsequent British annexation of Zululand. Throughout the conflict, there were numerous turning points, but the battles of Isandlwana and Rorke's Drift stand out as particularly significant. Each showcased the strength and resilience of the Zulu people. Forcing a re-evaluation of the British Empire's perceived dominance, the events of these battles raised several thought-provoking questions. How did the British, despite their technological advancements, lose to the Zulu warriors? What does it say about the nature of warfare and the role of strategy and tactics? And why are these events often overlooked or minimized in mainstream historical accounts? These are important questions that challenge conventional narratives and encourage us to examine the complexities of colonialism and its lasting impacts. As we continue our investigation, we discover that while these battles are still taught in some military colleges, they have been removed from most school curriculums in South Africa. To understand why, let's delve into the world of educational politics. Textbook committees, appointed by the government and influenced by various interest groups, decide which historical events are included in the curriculum. Pressure is often exerted on these committees to omit certain events that may be controversial or sensitive. Let's take a closer look at the textbooks themselves. By comparing different editions, we can identify the sections that were removed. For example, in one edition, there is a detailed account of the Battle of Isandlwana, including the strategies employed by both the British and Zulu forces. However, in the next edition, this section is replaced with a brief mention of the battle, minimizing the role it played in the larger conflict. Similarly, the heroic defense of Rorke's Drift is extensively covered in one edition, but is cut down to a few sentences in the other. These omissions raise concerns about the motivations behind the removal of this important history. The reasons for erasing this war from school curriculums are complex and multifaceted. One prominent theory is that it was done to protect the feelings of the white minority. Proponents of this view argue that acknowledging the Zulu victory at Isandlwana could be seen as a threat to the dominant group sense of superiority and control. By omitting this event, the narrative of European invincibility is preserved, reinforcing the status quo. Additionally, teaching about the Zulu victory might challenge the colonial narrative that justified the conquest of Africa as a greater good. By erasing this part of history, those in power can maintain the perception that colonization was inevitable and beneficial, thus perpetuating harmful stereotypes and historical revisionism. However, this explanation fails to acknowledge the broader context of the war and its significance. The conflict between the British Empire and the Zulu Kingdom was not just a battle between two military forces, but a clash of civilizations with profound implications for colonialism and imperialism. Omitting this war from school curriculums prevents students from understanding the complexities of these issues and their relevance in today's world. Another possible reason for the erasure is the desire to avoid controversy and maintain social harmony. Teaching about the Zulu victory could potentially spark tension and division within society, especially during times of political instability and racial tensions. By erasing this part of history, authorities aim to maintain social order and prevent potential unrest. Moreover, there is evidence to suggest that the removal of this war from school curriculums is part of a larger trend towards historical revisionism. In South Africa, the post-apartheid government has made efforts to decolonize the curriculum and incorporate previously marginalized perspectives. However, this process has been met with resistance from various groups who fear that it will lead to the rewriting of history and the promotion of anti-white narratives. As a result, there has been a pushback against teaching about the Zulu victory at Isandlwana, which is seen as a potential source of racial division and tension. Furthermore, the erasure of this war from school curriculums has had a profound impact on the descendants of those involved. Many Zulu people feel a sense of dispossession and cultural erasure as they are denied the opportunity to learn about their ancestors' triumphs and contributions. This lack of representation perpetuates a cycle of marginalization and prevents the healing and reconciliation between communities. However, it is important to acknowledge that there are also voices calling for the re-inclusion of this war in school curriculums. Academics and educators have argued that by erasing this part of history, we are doing a disservice to our students and perpetuating harmful stereotypes and historical revisionism. They believe that it is crucial to teach the truth about the Zulu victory at Isandlwana and the subsequent events in order to promote critical thinking, empathy, and understanding. In conclusion, the erasure of the war between the British Empire and the Zulu Kingdom from school curriculums is a complex issue with far-reaching implications. While there are understandable reasons for wanting to avoid controversy and protect the feelings of all communities involved, it is crucial to acknowledge the importance of teaching the truth and promoting understanding. By erasing this part of history, we perpetuate harmful stereotypes, prevent reconciliation, and deny students the opportunity to learn from past mistakes. It is up to us to challenge historical revisionism and ensure that future generations understand the complexities of our shared history. Our investigation into the erasure of the war between the British Empire and the Zulu Kingdom has uncovered a troubling reality. Despite its significance in South African history, this conflict has been minimized and distorted, denying both students and citizens a comprehensive understanding of their past. Through examining the motivations behind this erasure, the impact on education, and the call for re-inclusion, we have shed light on the importance of preserving the truth. To help restore this vital history to our textbooks, visit our website and sign our petition, urging the government to take action. Share your family story and help us build a community of those affected by this erasure. Together, we can ensure that the stories of the brave individuals who fought and died in this war are remembered and honored. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery and remembrance.